It is the same as those Keynesiites a few years back, the godless sociologists from Indiana, a state university too, I might point out, supported by taxpayers' money. We can't give a Catholic child a ride to school on the bus at the height of a howling blizzard for the fear the republic will fall, but we can hand over millions to the sociologists to pursue their sexual phantasms. Well, so the Keynesiites roamed the country on the taxpayers' money, and you can bet they didn't eat hamburgers and stay at the Wamyamka. While I'm at it, let me tell you about the Wamyamka another time. The Keynesiites accosted the women of America with a series of questions fit to be discussed only in the physician's office or the confessional. Naturally, any decent woman slammed the door on their face. The answers, all coming from women who didn't mind discussing their intimate lives, were what you might expect. And the Keynesiites issued a famous report that was nothing else but a slander on American womanhood. I don't want to scandalize you, but it was not just fornication and the fortifying of adultery, same as any other prize-winning novel. All these women, respondents, as they were called, or they called themselves, from the time they were tots until they were old as myself, went in for nothing and no thing honest woman would ever know about the name of, well, let alone indulge in it. Without joking, that's what went in the book. Now, we ask, why did the Keynesiites do all this? Anyone who isn't blind can see. First, they created this picture, this false picture of the woman of America literally going to the dogs and in general behavior like the last days of Pompeii. Now, we all know about carrying on among the sociologists themselves. They're terrible people, whether in Greenwich Village or Bloomington, Indiana. Wasn't Karl Marx a sociologist? I think he was. So then, we called to account for their behavior. The sociologists turned with a smile of injured innocence, point to their famous report and murmur in their nice Nelly way, "Depraved? We sociologists?" Why, my dear man, you don't keep up. Everybody does these things nowadays. Everybody doesn't. Not in any parish of mine, they don't. Anyway, that's the way it was with the Protestant birth control. They've given up having babies themselves. It spoils their figures. It interferes with their activities. And at the end, it's painful and frightening. You all know the old joke about the men who having babies that they wouldn't be able to have any or be any. Well, these women are trying to be men, and sure enough, no babies. No content with that. They itch to have anybody else stop having babies too, so there'll be no difference between them and the rest of the world. The very Hindus put them to shame, so off they go to the Hindus with their devices, but the Hindus are too smart for them. Heathens though they are, they know the natural law and abide by it. The natural law is very simple, really. It says bluntly that you have the gift of lex in order to participate in the race. The whole thing is kind of a trap of God, actually. When you think of the pain of birth and the expense of raising a child and the heartbreak they can cause you, you would have children, would you? If he didn't have to. The human race would have been out of business years ago. But this is how God outfoxes us. He attaches this great pleasure to the process, and people think it's all worthwhile, and the race is perpetrated from generation to generation. If you try to get the pleasure without the pain, you're a cheat and a thief. When I was a boy, I tried stealing apples in the summertime, but it never occurred to us that if the farmer caught us, we ought to get a charge of a rock salt in the backside, and we did. It is as simple as that. If you have some good reason for not having another child, such as the fact that you didn't die Or if you do, your course is clear. All you have to do is practice celibacy. Thousands and thousands of priests and nuns do it all their lives with never a word of complaint. Or, if you want to take a bit of a chance, you can use the rhythm system. This has been called Catholic birth control, but it's no such thing. It isn't Catholic in any narrow sectarian way. It's nature's own method revealed by the wonders of science through people say the church is opposed to science. I understand that birth controllers themselves use the rhythm method for that other side of their program. They're always bragging about the so-called fertility clinics. Let's take a look at this population explosion that's scarring the Protestant birth controllers silly. It's going on, all right, make no doubt about it. If, like myself, you had a grammar school to run for the last 20 years, you'd know at first hand that this population explosion is true, though I do not think a more dignified name could be found for it. In the face of such natural phenomena as vast dimensions, the question is asked, why? The question you'll get from the birth controllers is all about the advances in medicine and fewer infant deaths in childbirth and more efficient methods of dealing with cholera, typhoid fever, and on and so on. And it's all true as far as it goes, but it really answers the question, how? Not the question, why? The reasons for this so-called population explosion is crystal clear. Medicine isn't the only field science that has been advancing by leaps and bounds. The most sensational scientific advances in modern times have been made in the ancient art of blowing up your fellow man. Our future is being shaped by the A-bomb and the H-bomb, and I don't know what other horrors the wonders of science is discovering at this very minute. Now the Protestants keep telling each other, well, with the A-bomb and the H-bomb and the rest, at least we've made war on the terrible mankind that mankind will never resort to do again. Anyone who really believes that just because he doesn't know mankind. People have been saying that about every new weapon since the slingshot doubled the distance a man could throw a stone at his neighbor. No doubt the English Protestants said to themselves that when they took the rapists and the murderers out of the British jails and created the black and the tans, this army is so fierce no one will ever fight again. A month later, the black and the tans were over in Dublin massacring our people. So that's why God has sent the population explosion at just this time. We're on the point of blowing each other up on a scale never imagined before, thanks to the blessing of modern science. When the dust settles, and when the dust settles, the radioactive dust that is, what the world is going to need is people, not the advantages the Protestants offer to confer on their 1.4 children per family. When the real population explosion comes, namely the exploding of population by bombs, the future will belong to those who have reproduced themselves with a good margin to spare. The future will belong, that is the thing that derives those birth controllers out of their mind. The future will belong to the Hindus and the Catholics. And I'll tell you something else. Right now, we've got Jesuits, Franciscans, Dominicans, Benedictines, Maryknollers, and all kinds of nuns over there working their hearts out for the conversion of the Hindus.